Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Velocity Lake Planet Coaster series, a series in which I play Planet Coaster and construct a theme park called Velocity Lake, if it didn't need saying out loud. And here we are, right back in the family B&M Invert area where work continues on the station building. Last episode, we kind of finished doing all the foundation work, building the little fence around the station platform area, and indeed the staircases that go up to the station platform area. I don't think we did do the fences for the station platform area. That's probably something we're going to be doing in this episode, as well as a few other things. I concede that last episode was not particularly eventful. I feel like there was a lot, obviously stuff happened, because it was a 15-minute episode-ish, but I feel like the stuff that we did, it didn't really feel that impactful, but we do a lot more meaningful things this episode. Namely, we basically finish the entire station structure, as well as start working on a few other things to facilitate the theming around this ride. Not facilitate, complement the theming around this ride. Or lack thereof, admittedly. It's not a particularly heavily themed ride, but it's coloured. It's got a nice colour, and so it looks nice. Just making everything look nice, effectively, is what I'm saying here. And the first thing we're doing is a fairly generic, boring-looking transfer track just here. I'm kind of going for a nice look, but an inexpensive look. What's the word? An affordable look. For any other theme parks that want to buy this model of coaster from Lowne Aerospace, we're trying to raise some money. Our aerospace industry has been suffering. We are struggling for money, so I am flogging off this coaster layout to other parks. And, that is something that happens in real life, kind of. For example, I admit that, it's funny. Random tangent number one, here we go. Whenever I watch other Planet Coaster YouTubers, like, your Mass Bandit Silverette, that I say, I was at, this park and this week and they talk about loads of other parks. Me, I talk about Alton Towers. That's basically the only theme park I've been to more than once. I don't think I've ever been to another theme park on multiple occasions except for Wicksteed Park. I think it's in Leicestershire. I think it's in Kettering. But I've been there, but that's rubbish. It's got basically nothing there. It has a special place in my heart, but I feel like it's not very relevant when it comes to building big themed areas in Planet Coaster. I talk about Alton Towers a lot. Apologies, but we're going to talk about it again. As I said, it's not unheard of that, multiple parks can share the same ride. And indeed, Rita, Queen of Speed at Alton Towers, or I think it was renamed to Rita, come to think of it. Or is it called Rita the Escape now? Either way, Rita is the common denominator in that title. And there is a clone of it in a German theme park. I feel like I should have looked all this up before I started talking. I didn't even know this would be a direction the commentary would take, though, in my defense. I feel like it's called Desert Race. Basically, in a German theme park, it might be I'm going to just Google it. We're going to go Google Desert Race German. This is the quality content my Patreons are funding. You're welcome. Desert Race German theme park. I'm sure it's I don't want to say it because I don't want to sound like an idiot, but then here I am. Hyde Park! I knew it was Hyde Park! I should have just gone with my gut and said it. Yeah, Hyde Park. What even is this? Hyde Park, a theme park in Germany, has a Rita Queen of Speed clone. And it's exactly the same ride. Before people correct me, if anyone knows about this in this sort of detail, there is a tiny difference, the brake run at the very end is slightly different, but the rest of the ride is exactly the same. And what I'm saying with this random tangent is that we could flog off this part, this ride. We've made it inexpensive, the aesthetic. We can just sell it. I can't even remember why I started this justification. Basically, I wanted it to be fairly generically themed. I'm now coming up with this unnecessary backstory as to why exactly it looked like this. Let's move along. Oh yeah, I said I wasn't sure if I'd replaced the fences for the station platform. Turns out I hadn't, so we're doing that now. And then we're going to get on our way to constructing the rest of the station building itself. As in all of it. We've not built any of it. We've just built the actual support work for it and indeed the fencing for the platform. We are still lacking a roof. In my head canon, this theme park is set in the UK. Not sure whereabouts. I don't think the UK has any Alps or, big lakes like this, or indeed, areas where it never, ever, ever rains. It's just always sunny. But, we can dream. A man can dream, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to stick with that anyway. We need a roof, basically, because in the UK it does rain quite a bit, admittedly. So we need some sort of roof to shield this station queue from the elephants. Great. It's been a long day, guys. We're going to shield the station from the elephants, okay? It's a very real possibility. Namely for the ride operator, if nothing else. They're going to be fairly exposed. We want to have some sort of shelter for them. So I did sort of experiment with roof shapes at the end of last episode. I knew I was going to go with something fairly generic, probably using these panel pieces here, which is what I ultimately ended up going with. But I was just playing around with sort of the shapes, the structure, that sort of thing. And what you saw at the end of the last episode is pretty much what we do this episode. So I'm just placing the roof initially here, as in I'm placing the roof without supports underneath it, just to ensure that I really like the shape of it. I don't want to go to the effort of building all the support infrastructure, only to find I don't like how the roof looks. So I'm just sort of building here very, very broad strokes, just to assure that I do indeed like the way it looks. And then we're going to duplicate it over and then start placing the more intricate but necessary support work to keep it believably there. Because, in Planet Coaster you can build some pretty gravity-defying structures, but don't look very realistic. And I am trying to, for all of its faults, I am trying to make Velocity Lake a fairly realistic park. So we're going to try and build some realistic looking supports for this roof. I ain't no engineer, if it wasn't obvious already, so who knows if these would actually work. I like to think that looking at it, logic would dictate that it would work. I don't see any reason why these supports wouldn't work, at least, when they're done. In its current state, I do concede that yes, this probably would not work. It probably wouldn't just be able to levitate there, regardless of how detailed I keep the ironwork. But by the end product, I like to think that this would be a realistic approach to building a roof structure. But, any engineers below, if there are any, can let me know in the comments. And speaking of comments, I remember and this is going to probably happen this episode as well, but last week I had a couple of people pointed it out to me that I never once said the phrase, that, oh, it is Wednesday, my dudes, that I start every commentary with. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's a dead meme. The joke has got old and it's kind of crap. Now, when you go through the Velocity Lake plays, you just flick through it. It's just like, it is, as you're skipping along to the next video. It's like, yeah, they're probably more creative. I didn't even come up with the phrase, it is Wednesday, my dudes. So I feel like it's time. It's had a good run, but I feel like it's now, I don't need to start every commentary by going, it is Wednesday, my dudes, because I don't know, it just sounds a bit cringe to me. I don't know, maybe because I've just said it 57 times in the past. So, it is what it is. It was what it was. It'll always have a place in our hearts, but I think it's time to start these videos more creatively, such as, what is going on, guys? It's your boy, the Lowne Star, back with another, maybe not that generic, but that's basically why. For anyone that wanted to know why I didn't ever say the phrase, it is Wednesday, my dudes, last week, that's why. I feel like it's been done. It's a dead meme. We can all move along with our lives. I would say it's a dead meme. It has been dead for many years, buried for many years. It is now completely, it is now one with the environment. It is completely decomposed. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm going to move along. As you can see, the main roof structure is now in place, and I hope you agree now that it is a fairly realistic appearance to how a roof support structure might be. I did take extra care in making sure those pillars that support the roof don't actually block the gates that allow the guests to leave the queue line and enter the ride cars themselves. I wanted to make sure that those opening and the auto opening gates weren't occluded by the pillars, and they weren't, so good, well done. And now I'm just adding some interior lighting. I thought it might look a bit naff to have those massive, big, chunky purple beams linking the supports horizontally, so I used I believe these supports came from the Ghostbusters DLC pack, I think. Don't quote me on that. but I think they came from the Ghostbusters DLC pack. Very underrated DLC pack. I don't know if it's underrated, but it certainly exceeded my expectations. I assumed it was going to be like the Back to the Future DLC pack, where it was just the Ecto-1 and the Ghostbusters, like the people as animatronics. And for me, that would have been fine. I'd have bought it anyway. But it was a really nice surprise to see all of these building pieces that came with it as well. So that was cool. I do like the Ghostbusters pack for that. And obviously, I'm fairly sure that the floodlights I've used to light the inside of this ride again came from the Ghostbusters DLC. So all in all, a pretty good DLC if you like that sort of thing, you know? If you like that sort of thing, it's the sort of thing you'll like, is what I'm essentially saying right now. You can now see me lighting up the rest of the queue because, you know, whilst we did all the fencing and all that shebang in the previous episodes, we never actually lit it all up because I don't like doing all the lighting until the entire ride is done, because lights in Planet Coaster, you're very limited with what you can use. A lot of the lights in this game, and lights I'm saying in like air quotes, don't actually provide any ambient lighting, a lot of the lights. So you've only got a very small selection of things you can actually use that are generic looking, at least. Like, there are a lot of lights that provide ambient light, but they're like always heavily themed. Like, you've got the Eastern Asian style lights, you've got the very, very gothic lights and all that in between as well. But if you want to make a generic looking ride like this, the selection is somewhat limited, and that's a real missed opportunity, I think, when it came to the sci-fi lights. The sci-fi lights, while obviously designed to be themed with science fiction, they do actually also make pretty good sort of generic looking lights, especially that floodlight style one. But they don't provide any ambient lighting whatsoever. They themselves glow, like the parts will stick out, but they won't light up anything around them. So I'm not quite sure why Frontier made that decision, but they did, so we'll have to just accept it and move on. So I in this instance, I'm using the generic light pole things, but that's why I don't generally light up my queues and stuff until the station is done, because I'm not quite sure what theme I'm going with generally, as a rule of thumb. So I said, let's just build the station and then see which lights match the station, and then we'll use that light for the rest of the queue as well. And that's why I'm now lighting up the queue, and I didn't do that in previous episodes when I actually built it. And that's what I have to say about that. And we're pretty far into the commentary now. I zoom out. Like, we're 12 minutes and 25 seconds in. 28 seconds in. Okay, we're not going to do this joke again. But yeah, lighting is one of those chores. I don't really enjoy it. Like, it's kind of satisfying to place the lights and see your ride get illuminated against the night sky, but it's not something I necessarily look forward to, especially with the floodlights. You can see me placing them here, as in, like, you know, the things that light up the track from the ground, the spotlights, if you will. Those I never really like placing, because most of the lights in this game don't provide that. Oh, by the way, here is a POV of the ride. But no, like I say, most of the lights in Planet Coaster don't really provide like flood lighting. Like, you got to use those ones. There, you can see them as we whiz by them just there. You got to use those ones, and it can be annoying sometimes, especially with the more heavily themed rides. Like, I guess for this one, not so much. But with rides with really, really heavy scenery and heavy theming, when you want to light up the track so like it looks illuminated at night, you're basically stuck with using those spotlights, and it can be quite hard to place them without kind of breaking the illusion of the scenery that you've created. I guess I can't really think of an elegant way for like the game developers to get around this issue, because short of making a floodlight with every single theme like look to it imaginable, I think it would just clutter up the item space. I'm not quite sure what the solution would be to get around this, but maybe just have like super duper duper minimalist pieces. Like, literally it's just a 1 pixel thick like circle, and that's what emits the light, and then it's up to you to build a realistic looking lighting enclosure that could go around it. But I can't see the devs doing that, because this isn't really the sort of game I think that would do that. I mean, I'm quite happy to be proved wrong, but I don't think this is the sort of the game that would allow that. Anyway, we've done the lighting. Now we've just got a couple of things left to do before I'm happy with saying that this ride is done. Obviously, there is a lot of work to be done for the surrounding area, as you can see. But in terms of the actual ride itself, not much left to be done. Be nice to add a big sign saying this ride's name, which of course is the Phantom. I still refer to it as the Family B&M Invert coaster, but it's going to be called the Phantom. I guess it is called the Phantom now it's done. So we're going to put a ride sign up. We need to put a little entrance sign up for no particular reason other than the fact that that's what real theme parks do, so I guess we're going to do that. We're also going to just watch the monorail for no reason in particular by the looks of things on my screen. But I'm assuming past Matt, while recording this at some point, went back to the actual task at hand, which was, of course, finishing this B&M family. I've done it again. I called it the B&M family invert. It's easier to call it the Phantom as well. Regardless, basically we just need to do the big ride sign and the sign, indeed the sign that goes over the entrance of the entrance queue. And I think that's it for stuff that we do this episode. So I guess now people are going to start clicking off like, I don't care, but trust me, I think it's nice to see how the sign, I really like how the sign came out, because we're not going to put it over the station building or the roof or anything like that. We're going to put it right at the top of the lift hill, or at least, a good way up the supports of the lift hill, just because this area is kind of cool. That you got this big plaza, and then the coaster kind of goes around it and envelops it. And the dominating thing is the towering, I know it's not that tall, but the towering lift hill looming over the entire plaza, and that's where we can put the sign. I thought it was quite cool. It's kind of an interesting. You can see me walking along at ground level at admittedly very fast speed, so blink and you miss it. But I was walking along at ground level just to kind of get what the perspective of guests would be, and I was really happy with how it looked. So that's what I'm doing here. We're going to put it up there. I don't think it's got any writing on it at the moment, because at the time of building, as in when I was recording this, I wasn't quite sure of the name. But don't worry, spoiler alert, it will be called Phantom. And that's what we do. Oh, it's done. It has been decided. Past Matt has also concluded that Phantom is a good name. So that's what we're doing here. One thing that would be nice is I wish Planet Coaster would support like third-party fonts, or the fonts on your PC. The font selection in Planet Coaster is a bit rubbish. I won't lie to you. It would be nice to have more generic looking fonts at the very least. Like the font I've used here is pretty much the only generic looking font. All the others have got some sort of theming to them, or look a bit too stylized. Like it would be nice to have some more Helvetica style fonts. Heck, just have Helvetica. There's a great. Wow, this is what you get, guys. Have Helvetica or something like that, but I'd like some more generic themes. I mean, in an ideal world, it'd be nice if Planet Coaster would support the fonts on your PC. I guess the limiting thing here is maybe there's like a legal thing to that, but I suspect what will be more likely is when you're sharing the park files. For example, if you use a Windows font, someone playing on Linux or Mac wouldn't be able to load that sign, so the sign might have an error or something like that. So I feel like there's probably a reason that the fonts have to be intrinsically built within the game. But even so, it would be nice to get some more fonts. I don't know, you just got on 1001 free fonts. There are fonts you can use for commercial purposes with no problems. That's my advice. That's my advice to developers. You should just pirate them. Just pirate some fonts. No one needs to know. And here again, I was running into a similar issue where I wanted an exit sign, but again, no real generic looking font, so I kind of gone with one that's not that generic looking, but it looks passable from a distance. And that's the motto I go with this park. It looks fine from a distance. Just basically load it, zoom the way out and go, yep, this park looks nice, and then move on. And that's really what I'm going with this park here. I don't know if there's anything else. Oh yes, this is like a really easy way of curbing paths. I guess doing custom curbs is never that easy because it will always be a fairly time-consuming process. But one way I found that works quite well with fairly minimal effort is just placing a load of the small rocks along the border of the path. And not only does it look really nice, well, not only is it really easy, but it looks pretty nice as well. And that's what I'm doing for this part of the park here. I've done it once before in Velocity Lake, near the Street Fox coffee shop. The curbing of the paths around that are all the little stones as well. I worry that if I did this throughout the entire park, it might get old and look a bit weird. But, using it sparingly, dotting it around as and when, not as and when, but, dotting it around intermittently throughout the park, I think it looks pretty nice. And speaking of things that I think look pretty nice, this shot right here, I think looks pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with how things have turned out so far. The roller coaster is definitely progressing very, very well. I'm happy to leave the episode there, just short of the 20-minute mark on screen. You can look at some more episodes if you want on the left-hand side in the form of the full Velocity Lake playlist. The right-hand side is a video chosen for you by YouTube's recommendation bot based on your viewing habits. I have run out of time now, guys, so goodbye.